Well, it's taking forever to start.
It's you. It's on. What are you waiting for?
Oh, on my screen, it just says starting. It says off air.
Oh.
All
Then
right,
I'll take over the show. How you doing?
Welcome to episode 200. There it is. Now it's working.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 268 of WordPress Weekly for Wednesday, March 22nd, 2017. I'm your host, Jeff Chandler, joined by Marcus Couch. Marcus, what's up, man?
Yes, sir. I'm just hanging in there. Tomorrow I'm heading to Tony Robbins, so I'll be walking on fire tomorrow night and having some stuff going on through the weekend. But yeah, everything's going good.
That sounds like a bunch of fun, walking on fire.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to happen.
So we have a full house today. On today's show, we're going to be talking about WordPress development with a couple of guests. But before we dive into that, I did want to share a news story that sort of broke before we went on the air. And this is another one of those things I didn't see coming. But GoDaddy has acquired or has entered into an agreement to acquire Sucuri Security. Which that name should be familiar to those. We recently had Tony Perez on, where we really dived in deep into WordPress security in general. And Sucuri has been around for a while. They're one of the few companies I trust when it comes to their explanations on vulnerabilities, how to stay secure, things of that nature. So apparently details of the acquisition have not been shared. You know, things, the usual stuff, the amount of money, the details surrounding it. But it looks like Sucuri is going to operate as its own separate entity within the GoDaddy umbrella, sort of just like Managed WP. And I wanted to send out my congrats to Tony Perez, Daniel Sid, and the others over there at Sucuri Security. I think this will be very beneficial to their company, and we'll see what happens.
I think so as well. I think that it's a great move because they are the standard torchbearer of security within the WordPress ecosystem. So why not hire the best or acquire the best, I guess you could say. So I think it's a great move. It's just another thing that GoDaddy's done that has sort of solidified their position within WordPress.
So one of the awesome products Sucuri has is their WAF. I think it's like Windows application, probably not Windows, but web application firewall. And that's sort of like the front line of protecting sites from so many different vulnerabilities and exploits. And, considering GoDaddy, how large of a host they have and how many customers they have, now there's no, this news just happened, so there's no guarantee that all of their customer sites are automatically going to be put behind the WAF. But if, even if a, 25% or 50%, or even if that decides to come true, that'll be a hell of a lot more sites out there on the web that are running WordPress that will be more secure because of this. So there's that benefit to it as well.
I would guess that everybody is going to be umbrellaed under this as far as anybody who has a WordPress managed hosting site at GoDaddy. That's just my own speculation, but it doesn't seem like they're acquiring things just to use it to a selective audience. The things that they've acquired, they've made available pretty much to everybody. So it's yet to be seen, of course, on this particular product acquisition, but it's certainly a development that I, as a GoDaddy WordPress managed hosting customer, appreciate. I can't wait to see exactly what it is that they're going to be doing.
Indeed. So let's dive into the meat of the matter here on the show today. We have three guests joining us. The first is Alex Denning, then we had Fred Meyer and David Hayes. A little bit of a reunion of sorts. The last time I had these three on the show was back in 2013, episode 125. And I brought these guys on because Fred and David had acquired WP Shout from Alex Denning. And I remember bringing Alex onto the show to talk about his activity and involvement of publishing content on WPShout.com and sort of We got insight into the what plans Fred and David had for the site, and I'm glad to say that it's up and running still. Hey, look at that! It's a segue into your development course. That's a perfect segue. But I want to start off with Alex. Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in the WordPress space.
Hi. Yeah. So thanks for having me. So back in 2009, I did set up a site called WP Shout, which is a WordPress development site. And as you mentioned, nearly 4 years ago now, I passed the site on to Fred and David as I was starting university. Since graduating last summer, I'm now a freelancer. I do marketing and content for WordPress companies now.
Okay, and then Fred?
Yeah, so with David, I run an agency doing mostly WordPress called PressUp, and we write free content, free tutorials, WordPress tutorials on WP Shout every week, and a quick guide to doing something simple in WordPress every week, and 3 posts to cool things around the internet. So we basically publish to WP Shout every weekday, and those 2 things sort of take up most of my day.
And your partner in crime, David.
Yep, that's me. Yeah, Fred covered most of it. Yeah, I'm a guy. I like earbuds, AirBuds. I think they're really fun.
All right, so thank you, gentlemen, for being on the show. And one of the main reasons I brought you on is you guys have released a new course. I shouldn't say a new course, but an updated second edition to a course you call Up and Running. And maybe we'll start with Alex here. Alex, I was doing a little bit of research, and I found out that between the time of when WP Shout was given over to Fred and David, you were working on a course called Master WP. And I think that was released sometime back in September of 2016. Was that, does that have any relation to this Up and Running course?
Yeah, so when I started freelancing, I wanted to make some sort of WordPress course around the kind of things I knew, so like learning WordPress. And with a longtime collaborator of mine, Ben Gilbanks, who runs Pro Theme Design, we sat down to set up to make Master WP, which was meant to be a course for people who wanted to go from like WordPress beginner to WordPress power user. And long story short, we didn't have enough interest to continue doing it. But through that, I got talking to Fred and David again about Up and Running. They're thinking about doing a second edition. And so whilst Master WP didn't really work out, that led to me joining Fred and David to work on a new edition of their already kind of really good existing course on learning WordPress development Up and Running. So that's kind of how we got to where we are today.
What do you feel is the benefit for you guys in putting these kinds of things together? I mean, WordPress community is notoriously cheap and wants everything for free. What benefit do you guys get out of that?
So you could learn everything in Up and Running for free if you wanted to. And certainly to the extent I have any coding knowledge these days, I am self-taught, and David is as well. So you could do it for free if you wanted to, but it would take you, say, like 50 hours. Whereas if you buy Up and Running, you can do it in 5. And also you have the benefit of this kind of very clear, thorough curriculum that's going to make sure you know everything you need, rather than missing out some key element that you find out in 6 months. It would be so much more useful if you knew X. The course covers everything and explains it in a kind of very accessible way, and that's the benefit.
So there's this Up and Running course. It's about WordPress development. But so what aspects do you cover in this course related to that?
So are we, sorry, should I jump in? Or
Yeah, sure. Yeah, feel free to jump in whenever you want.
Yeah, so basically we start with core intuitions that are going to inform kind of everything about your approach to WordPress development. So a big one, for example, is just this analogy we use that WordPress is like a factory that produces web pages. And so we say, okay, well, what's the WordPress database? Well, if you look on, the Codex or Wikipedia or whatever, you'll be like, oh, it's a MySQL database that stores a number of tables, each of what, but really what the database is it's like the warehouse for WordPress's like raw materials, which are things like posts and users. And so we just kind of go through that analogy and sort of build out what a theme is, what a plugin is, what a database is, and sort of tie that together in a way that doesn't actually touch code yet, but gives you like a good sense of what every piece of WordPress actually is. So you won't make mistakes like looking for your posts, using an FTP client or something like that. And so we start with kind of those core intuitions. We kind of untangle what post and page actually mean, because each of those terms has about 5 uses in WordPress. And so we really start from like the very, very kind of core intuitions that you need to just be oriented. And then we just go through all of, WordPress's key APIs, like, how to use the hook system, how to register a widget, how to register a widget area, menu area, how to write a WP query. So pretty much everything you need to start really doing theme and plugin development. And then we have some like screencast series that take you start to finish through the process of creating a child theme, and then a theme from scratch, and then a plugin from scratch.
So this course has a combination of text, screencast, videos, images, pretty much all those mediums.
Yeah, all of the above. Yeah, it's a full length ebook, which is available either as just like a PDF download or as like 40-ish chapters that you can actually sort of kind of browse in your browser. And each one of those has a video that comes with it that gives like a 2 to 5 minute summary of the content. And it's got like key takeaways at the top, which sort of say the 3 or 4 most important points that you'll get out of the chapter. Then it's text, which typically has sort of code examples in it. And then at the end, we do a limerick. I'm sort of like a failed English major, so I like wrote a limerick for every one of these chapters just to do it. And then it has like sort of a quiz that tests your knowledge at the end. So that's the text content. But then there's quite a lot of screencast series that cover theme and plugin development, interviews with expert WordPress developers, and some other things.
So I think Marcus has experience in the online courseware area, or something to do with membership sites. Maybe you could tell us a little bit of background information on maybe the decision to go the ebook route. And is there anything in particular? Are you guys running a membership site in the background as part of this ebook, or what's the infrastructure behind it?
So the key insight is that people buy online courses but actually really struggle to finish them. So version 1 was only available as a PDF, and we got some feedback from customers working out how to improve version 2. Wanted to make it much easier to like just take the whole course. So to that end, we've got the site running a mix of Restrict Content Pro and WP Complete, the premium edition of that as well. So Restrict Content handles all of the back-end stuff, and then we use WP Complete so that people can mark through, if they're doing the web version of the course, they can mark through after they've completed each chapter. And that's really nice for giving a sense of progression so that you can feel motivated to actually finish it.
Yeah, is there something at the end where you can print out like a certification? Is there a test or anything? Some of these courses have that nowadays.
So there is a test at the end of each chapter, but it's more of a quiz that you can just do in your own time, and the answers are right there if you want to check. We haven't built some sort of like print out your own certificate. Maybe we should do that.
I know. You'd be surprised actually how people actually use that to get gigs or get jobs. It's a reaffirmation of their skills and what it is that they've learned to do. Because if you don't have pieces of paper that say I've learned this, how do you prove it, right? How do you show which track that you actually went through to learn these particular skills other than self-taught? So I think that's a valuable piece you guys should consider.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely do that. And we add it to our to-do list.
Yeah. I noticed too. See, I do this thing where I go into your search sections of some of the people that we interview. I noticed you talk about a lot of different podcasts, but no WordPress Weekly mentions. What's up with that, fellas?
Oh, geez. I didn't even notice that.
Where have we committed such a crime?
I don't know. But how do you see, what it is that you do evolving? Like, where are you going to take this next in terms of content and some of the curriculum that you have? Have you had plans to expand it even further for the people that have already gone through the course?
So if you bought version 1, you've got a free upgrade to version 2. That's the feedback on that's obviously been great, because there's a ton of extra value, and sort of 50, 100 hours of our time has gone into this, making it better. So there's that for starters. In the future, I think we're going to, see how this goes, and see what we can learn from this. But there's definitely space for a learn WordPress development product like this. So I don't see why we can't do more interesting things with it in the future.
Sure. And do you have a community that's also based around this? People that ask questions of each other and of yourselves?
So we don't, and that's one of the things that we'd want to look at. Some sort of perhaps either community Slack setup, or perhaps some sort of office hours based Q&A type thing. There are various ways of taking this. So those will be things to look at for kind of the next version.
So, David, what's your involvement in this book? We haven't heard much from you on this.
Yeah, I haven't been saying all that much. Well, so the biggest thing that I contributed in this wave. So Fred took the bulk of re-editing the text and making it even more clear, and we added some new chapters about the REST API and how to use it and what it means and all that stuff. So all that's in the text now, which is really cool. And Alex and I kind of split the task of making videos for every chapter. So in our premium and deluxe tiers, in addition to having the text on the site, you will have a video that kind of introduces the topic of the chapter and talks through what it's going to talk about in a different way. So maybe like Alex or I's video is more clear to you than Fred's writing, or the opposite. Hopefully they're complementary. That's our goal, is that the video introduces you to what you're seeing, what you'll see, and so the reading is then easier as a result. So that's a big part of what I did. And then I also, in our deluxe tier, there are a bunch of screencast series that Fred talks about, where we walk through step by step everything you need to do to make a child theme, and everything you need to do to make a theme without using any basis, and everything you need to make a plugin that gives you some widgets and shortcodes and all those kinds of cool features you'd expect. So that's really the primary way I contributed. I certainly have helped Fred with the text at various times in various ways, but that's kind of my role, has been screencast, because I sort of like being on camera, I guess.
So the homework assignment that we were given at WordCamp US 2016 was learn JavaScript deeply. Do you guys cover that in this the second edition of the course, JavaScript?
No, but we know someone who does. So
yeah, so do I.
you guys know who Zach Gordon is?
Yes, I do.
He just launched a course on JavaScript for WordPress, pretty much at the same time that we're launching Up and Running. And I mean, he's a fabulous educator, and I think if you want to learn JavaScript in a WordPress context, I just can't recommend highly enough that you check that out. I think I even have the URL in it's javascriptforwp.com. So that's I would point you in that direction if you want to actually keep the promise we all silently made to Matt. In terms of why we don't get deeply into JavaScript, kind of the point of Up and Running in both versions 1 and 2 has been to kind of give you the absolute the things that you must absolutely know, the foundation of WordPress development. So, how to hook into something, how to add an action, how to register a script, how to register a style, those kind of things. Things that, are basic to WordPress's APIs. And if you start teaching people deeply in JavaScript, you basically now have the job of educating them in jQuery or some other flavor of JavaScript. And that just sort of felt and feels like it kind of falls outside what we're trying to do with Up and Running.
Yeah, so just to follow on there, as I said, we added some chapters about the REST API, but Fred and I debated at some length how we would deal with making an app, because obviously everyone's favorite use case for the REST API is that you can now go create single page JavaScript applications. But we decided that it was really too much to bite off, because the book is targeted at people who, are power users or coming to WordPress from a different ecosystem, or those kinds of people, rather than people who are looking to suddenly become master programmers of everything in the world, because JavaScript is just a whole other thing beyond learning PHP.
So you brought it up. You brought up the REST API, or as Jeff and I like to refer to it, flying cars. Something that we've always been promised, but never seen.
Finally.
So give us your rundown, gentlemen, as far as what you think the REST API is going to bring to WordPress in terms of capabilities, and what, if any, secret WordPress REST API project you guys have been involved in.
So I'll do the secret project. David, you do the rundown.
Oh, and you're doing the secret project second? So I think it's really interesting to think about the REST API, and I think it's a really great thing. In the screencast series about making a plugin in the book, we pull in data from GitHub's REST API, and the really great thing about REST APIs is they provide a very standardized interface to dealing with resources like posts or pages inside of a WordPress site. And so I think uniformity of access to that kind of stuff creates a lot of interesting possibilities, where it wouldn't be very hard to, assuming the Tavern and WP Shout and Torque and whoever else had a REST API, you could build a little JavaScript app that reads the stories from there and renders them in a funner, more interesting way, maybe, or something like that, because that we're providing a uniform interface.
All right, let's back the geek off a little bit. Let's back up with the geek talk. Let me rephrase this. How does someone who is a WordPress developer or designer pitch something with the REST API to a potential business owner or client?
Oh, I'll do this one.
Okay.
So kind of the secret project I was going to tell you about is David and I are both interested in mindfulness meditation, and that's how we started in business together. Actually, is we started a web app that was supposed to help people meditate, and did sort of, but we still kind of have that shared interest. So like in the past 3 months or so, David and I put a few hours into just like teaching ourselves React Native, and we made an app that actually works on my Android phone that basically it helps you sort of time out and take like 3 deep breaths. So it gives you like a little alert, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it says it's time to take 3 deep breaths. And then you do that. And then it plays like maybe a YouTube video, or it shows you a quote, or it, maybe it plays like 30 seconds of a song or something like that. And then you're back to your day. So it's supposed to just kind of like tap the brakes on your day a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And basically we're doing that all with JavaScript and a WordPress backend, because React Native, publishes native apps to Android and iOS. So it's absolutely incredible. And with the REST API, you can use WordPress as sort of the data store for all of that, for your video content, for your, post content, which would just be something like a, quote post type with WordPress's native categories. So to answer directly the question you just asked, like you can sell potential clients. Sorry for my dog, by the way. She's I have pizza next to me. She's has a very strong sense of entitlement. So you can sell to your client, look, like you want like me to build this website for you. That's awesome. I will build you, your meditation coaching website. How about if I do a little bit of extra work with the REST API and with React Native, and we publish you some apps as well. Like we publish you native apps that let you do this like cool thing that will sort of tie you into your customers in a more intimate way, and just sort of, really make you seem, like you operate at kind of a level of professionalism that a website alone can't manage. So I think that's a really cool possibility. And I think the possibility for those kind of upsells just using WordPress and some JavaScript technologies is really cool.
Yeah, and if I can just step in to expand on that, I think, with respect to the sales question, Marcus, the big thing is, most customers, even I would say a lot of people who are excited about the REST API aren't really sure what it is or what it does, because like fundamentally, the people don't care about the technology underlying their thing. Most people who use WordPress don't care much that it's using PHP, never mind what that means or says about it. They care about what it enables them to do or what that makes easier or all that stuff. And there are a lot of things that the REST API makes simpler, like a better admin experience for someone who just needs to do like 4 actions on a WordPress site. You could go create a one single page JavaScript app for them, those sorts of things. But you need to sell the benefits that someone gets out of a thing far more than you can sell them on the cool technology that underlies a thing they don't really care about.
So is it like adding an extra sensory to your site? I mean, is it like, okay, now your WordPress site has ears that it can listen to other things and then communicate accordingly? I mean, how do you break that down?
It's more like publishing your WordPress site's diary on the internet. So your WordPress site's data was all inside one of those locked little diaries. And the REST API basically steals the diary from your WordPress site at lunch, and it reads it aloud in front of the entire school. So you can see the possibilities are really attractive.
This is Fred trolling, just so everyone's clear.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm dead serious. That is what it does.
WordPress's REST API doesn't expose anything that wasn't previously exposed via other means, which is sort of the whole point and the thing that's true about it. What is true, though, is it's much more convenient for a lot of people in a lot of different situations, specifically and most commonly JavaScript. So if you want to write Angular or React or something to interface with a WordPress site, that is now so much easier because of the REST API, because basically there's kind of like a cord that's now available to plug into those two things that now they can talk very clearly and quickly without you having to build stuff on both ends. You just need to do the reading from it kind of thing.
Because I kind of equate our marketplace in WordPress to like Teslas. Like they're really uber expensive and cool, but ultimately you just want to sit in it and let it do the driving, right? It's just such a weird, counterplay. But the REST API, I mean, we've heard so much about it for so long, but I think a very few percentage of the populace within our community has actually taken advantage of it or done anything with it. So that's why we like to explore this a little bit more on this show, because A, we have the time, and B, usually you're talking to the influencers on the subject. And so I think as we get further and further along in release cycles, it's imperative to kind of take a time out, tap the brakes, as you said, to kind of look at what it is that it does and what the possibilities are. So where do you guys individually gauge the REST API in terms of importance of WordPress overall?
Marcus,
If I can for a sec, I just want to interject. Have you guys ever heard of the Gartner hype cycle?
No.
Gartner's just this consulting company, and it's just like a very simple chart. It's a line that goes straight up pretty quickly, then it falls down almost just a little bit above where it started, and then it slowly rises up. And so they talk about there being a peak of inflated expectations. And I think the WordPress community was waiting for the REST API for so long that we've been on a peak of inflated expectations for a long time, which is part of what I think you're saying, Marcus, which is that there's like all of this stuff that people were like hoping for and dreaming about. And now it's possible, and people aren't sure what to do with it, or they're going to find it's a little weird, or those sorts of things will naturally happen. This is how any kind of product goes through a cycle. But eventually you'll get to a place, what they call the plateau of productivity, which is where everyone has understood it's not as great as we once thought. It's not as terrible as we were worried right after it was great, but it's really like a solid, useful thing that we can do cool things with. And I really do think like creating a better admin experience for people who are needing to do a small subset of what the WordPress dashboard currently allows is a great example of something where like there is huge benefit to making it easy to just like moderate comments in a very quick, speedy way that the dashboard has had, but it isn't super intuitive or requires knowing keyboard shortcuts or things like that. where an app could come along and just do that. You plug it into the dashboard, you give it to your clients, and they're like, wow, this is great. I can now moderate comments super easily, or something like that. That is where the REST API really shines, is these smaller use cases. We aren't gonna suddenly revolutionize WordPress. We're gonna make a lot of interfaces a little better pretty quickly because we now have this easier, more uniform way to get to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I really think David, I strongly kind of agree with everything David just said. And just to tack on a little bit, for me as kind of like a guy who does small to medium to occasionally large WordPress projects, I'll just say a couple of other sort of incidental benefits of the REST API. First are that it does help push you to JavaScript a little bit. So it actually kind of builds a bridge from a working WordPress developer's knowledge, which is all kind of focused in probably mostly PHP and jQuery, and then just a lot of sort of kind of live knowledge about themes and plugins and things like how to migrate a WordPress site and all that. So you're kind of siloed in, and the rest of the web development space in general is using all these crazy tools that you can't have no idea about, like, Grunt and Gulp and Angular and, all these things. And the REST API kind of lets you perk your ears up a little bit and lets you, as a WordPress developer, start to kind of bleed out into these other spaces where kind of the rest of the web development world lives. So, the REST API basically caused me to learn React so that I could learn React Native, for example. So I think there's a little bit of kind of ancillary benefit there. And the last thing I would say is that I don't think that for, a $2,000 to $10,000 WordPress client project, you're going to be like, great, well, let me just, fire up the REST API, right? But I think that the low end of WordPress client work is starting to get pinched pretty hard by technologies like Squarespace, and I think that there are a lot of high-end uses for complex, interesting sites where the REST API does open up a lot of the kinds of frontiers that I talked about 5 or 10 minutes ago. So, yeah, I think David, I think David's point is really, really true in terms of the hype cycle with the REST API. But I do think it also has the benefit of building a bridge to other technologies for working WordPress developers.
Yeah, see, that's what I always assumed that it would be more like. Like, okay, now you can tap into your customer's inventory or your vendor's inventory or somebody that's reselling for you and be notified within their within their inventory system what's going on and when they need to reorder and blah blah blah. I mean, be able to give clients kind of a 360-degree site that represents all aspects of their business, even within the e-commerce space or within commerce itself. Doesn't even necessarily have to have that E in there. So that's why I ask. I'm just so curious about it. Unfortunately for me, I don't have time to learn all those languages right now. Maybe your course would help out with that kind of thing, but until there's a page builder for the REST API, so to speak, I think it's going to be tough to get a lot of people adopted into it.
So you guys are now involved or have been in the WordPress courseware space. If it is a space, a vertical, I'm not sure, but I know there are plenty of people out there educating others on WordPress. Maybe one of you three could step in and sort of give me your take on the state of WordPress education as you see it right now.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of sites which will give you a lot of great stuff for free. And WP Shout is one of those sites. And between the three of us, it's been doing it for a very long time as well. We are starting to see more courses, and I think that's good. And there's space for more good courses, to be honest. As I see it, Up and Running specifically feels a gap in the market for like a really good get started with WordPress development or learn WordPress development quickly course. It doesn't really exist. But you also have more niche products like the JavaScript for WordPress course that we mentioned earlier. The space for those as well. So right now I kind of see it as something that people are doing more of. perhaps. So say on Shout, we've been writing free stuff for a very long time. Obviously, free content is not a necessarily always the best business model. So branching out into some sort of value-adding course, like we've done with Up and Running, is working well for us, and it seems to be working well for other people as well.
Is your ebook licensed under the GPL? I could just redistribute it, for free. I'm on my job, man. No laughs. Darn, I thought I could have put GPL joke in there somewhere. All right, so before we wrap it up here, maybe Fred and David, I know you guys have taken over WP Shout. You've been doing it now for at least 3 years. Probably going out 4 years now. But what's been your experience like just producing content? And have you guys attended any work camps since then and now?
Heck yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I will
answer this.
I will go ahead. Yeah, we actually, Jeff, you and I met at WordCamp US this last December for like 2 minutes. I was just like, I really like what you do, and you were like, thanks. But that was about the extent of our meeting, so I'm not surprised it doesn't.
Sorry about that. I was actually working because there was some drama press I had to invest.
That's okay. That happened to me the first time I met him too.
I'm not worried about it. But yeah, so I think WP Shout, I think first and foremost, like for better and worse, Fred and I have engaged in WP Shout as just like a fun thing we do. And we've tried to make money in a couple different ways over time. And, some of them work all right. Some of them don't work. And, you live and learn doing it. But I mean, the big thing is we just really enjoy teaching people. And, knowing that, getting that comment or that, in person, like, oh, I really like your stuff is just really, really valuable to us. So I think first and foremost, it's the love of helping people understand, how WordPress works, how they can use it more effectively, how they can make it do what they need to do, even if it's not obvious, that we've really had and that's kept us going on WP Shout the whole time. It's why, we made Up and Running the first time, and why on the relaunch, we just wanted a second opportunity to make sure that we help people with that learning process even better.
Yeah, I really agree with what David had to say. Like, we were at a WordCamp like 6 months ago. David, where was it? It was at Denver? I don't think it was. It was at, okay, well, never mind. But anyway, we were at this big room, and they had like a popcorn machine and like a margarita mix machine.
Oh, in LA.
Yeah. It was in LA. And we were like, hey, we were just sort of mixing with people, and we talked to this guy, and he was like, hey, what do you do? And I said, oh, we run an agency, and we also run a WordPress tutorial site called WP Shout. And he was like, oh yeah, WP Shout. Like, yeah, I love WP Shout. Like, and we're like, oh really? He's like, yeah, everybody loves it, And we've had maybe, 10 of those conversations over the years at WordCamps. And it's like, it's such a, like, that sort of the novelty of that never wears off, that like people are really reading and appreciating your stuff and really see you as a resource in the community.
It gives you that special tingling feeling.
Yeah, I mean, you must know what this is like, because obviously the tavern is probably one of the 2 or 3 most essential places for WordPress news.
I got that feeling back at WordCamp Orange County when this gentleman came up to me and said, yeah, I loved your show. I love the way you guys do all those cool sound bites and, drink of the week or whatever, or what you sipping on. And I go, well, I'm glad you feel that way, except that's not my show.
Well, he loved a show, and that's what's important, that he loved a show.
Yeah. I think I had a different tingling feeling. Hey guys, congratulations on the launch of the second edition of your course. It looks like great stuff. And there is a coupon code available. It's not just for this show. It's actually a generalized coupon code. How can people take advantage of that?
If you use the code TAVERN, especially for you, you can get 20% off until the end of the day on March the 31st. And the URL is upandrunningwp.com.
Okay. So you could use Tavern Tavern as the coupon code, right?
Yeah, and you can apply it at checkout, and you'll get 20% off any package.
Wow, that's like the tavern buying you a free drink. Look at that.
Yeah, well, how about that? And you guys are, I know you guys are doing this to track how much influence I have. I see what's going on here. You think I don't know?
What's your clout score?
I have no idea. Also, by the way, you guys are, I'm going to get this out today, but they have until this Friday. If they purchase any of the tiers, I believe, of the ebook or of the course, they'll be entered into some sort of drawing, or there's like $3,000 worth of prizes in this.
Yeah,
drawing.
so man, I'm meant to be the one handling the marketing here. We've got 26 WordPress theme companies. So that's like, some of them are offering, you can have all of our themes. So there's like 100 WordPress themes, 10 WordPress plugins, and a year of hosting from SiteGround.
Wow.
It's all bundled up. And we've got one huge prize of 13 WordPress theme companies and plugins, and then the SiteGround hosting. Second prize, and we'll split the rest out randomly. So if you purchase before Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, you're entered into the prize pool to win $3,000 plus of pretty awesome WordPress prizes.
How about that? So there you go. So thanks a lot, gentlemen, for coming on the show and telling us a little bit more about Up and Running second edition and some of the work and details that have gone in behind the scenes on how this became a reality. And guys, keep up the great work with WP Shout. It's a pretty cool resource in the WordPress community.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, same to you at the tavern, Jeff.
Thank you very much, guys. And Marcus, unless you have any further questions, we could probably wrap this up.
Okay, well, we got some plugin picks of the week to get to. You ready for that?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it quickly. First one is called WP Multi-Site User Sync. I used this actually just this week. It allows you to sync and unsync users from one instance of multi-site to another. So it basically just lets you kind of forward over the users from one place to another. Really cool. Next one is pretty neat. It's called WooCommerce Live Checkout Field Capture. And what it does is it actually saves all of the things in a cart and saves it to your database. If somebody happens to abandon the shopping cart or whatever it happens to be, you can actually make it so it's there the next time, or you can actually look at reports to see what was in their cart when they abandoned. So it's a pretty easy way to kind of check that out. And also, here's one that if anybody uses comments on their site, after they leave the comment, you don't have a lot of choices in terms of where it is that they go. This plugin changes all that. It's called After Comment Redirector, and it lets you redirect to a custom page after someone leaves a new comment. And it's a real great way to say thank you, even if you wanted to give out a coupon or a special ebook or secret content or take them to a secret place after leaving a comment. This plugin will do it. It's called After Comment Redirector, and those are my plugin picks of the week.
I don't know why, but I'm thinking of so many nefarious purposes and tricks I could use with After Comment Redirector. If I don't know, maybe on April Fool's. yeah. Well, I don't know. Just the evilness in my head is too strong. So that's gonna do it for this week's edition of WordPress Weekly. I want to say that I'm working on getting the product manager or CEO of Discuss, the commenting system. Speaking of comments on the show, I know we recently talked about the issues surrounding advertising and things of that nature. So it'd be great to have him on, and we'll talk more about the product, the service, the advertising deal, things of that nature. I think it'd be a pretty good show. So we're working on that for you. Until then, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the show. You can find show notes for this episode and all previous episodes on wptavern.com. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a comment on iTunes, good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. Just give us an iTunes review so we have something to read during the beginning of the show.
Yeah, and before I sign off, I want to say congratulations to the guy that I'm a co-host with on my other show, John Overall, where he and I host WordPress plugins A to Z every week. We're going to be hitting episode number 300 next Monday, and that makes us
congratulations.
that makes us the very first WordPress podcast to break 300. So it's quite an accomplishment. And otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at Marcus Couch and my website, marcuscouch.com.
Well, if you guys could find a way to take about almost 32 episode break, we'd be able to catch up. It would take us a little while. It would be 32 weeks or so. But
imagine my honor here that I get to take that show past 300 and this show past 300. So that's going to be.
Well, we'll see about that.
Hey.
So you can follow me on Twitter at Jeffro, JEFFR0. Until next week, everybody have a safe, enjoyable weekend, rest of the week. We'll talk to you again next Wednesday afternoon. So long, everybody.